Okay, so the reason why I'm making this video is because I literally cannot stop thinking about the Stauffer situation. I have nobody else to talk to about it, so I'm going to make a video. I would normally talk to my partner about this, but he literally is at the point where he cannot listen about it because he has his own traumas surrounding being pretty much orphaned, and it's too much, and I wouldn't want to put that on him. So I have some extensive experience working with foster and adoptive children, and I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy, and I did pretty much my entire internships and everything surrounding children. So the thing that really is getting me about the situation is their kids. And obviously the child who was given up, but my hope would be that he is with a family that is equipped to handle him, because let's be honest, special needs children are not easy. I've worked with special needs children, and it's not easy. And a lot of times when you ask the mother and the parents of these children, like, hey, how on earth do you handle this? Like, a lot of times, like, we as the public from the outside looking in think about it and we're like, wow, these people are like super people who, they somehow are able to pull themselves up and do this. Well, guess what? They don't see themselves like that. They don't want you to think about them like that. They are literally just doing whatever they have to do to make it work. And obviously, I think the reason that people are so angry with the parents in this situation, the Stauffers, is that these are people who come from extreme wealth and privilege, and they got to pretty much make a decision about what they were doing. People who have special needs children born into their families don't make that choice. Like, we're talking 99% of the time, they don't know that anything is wrong until the child is here. And then it's well, what the hell am I supposed to do about this situation? I'm just going to do what I have to do to make it work. Whereas these people went into it with a lot more knowledge than 99.9% of families with special needs children do. So, I don't know where I was going with this. So they came at this with a lot of privilege, with a lot of options, with a lot of money in order to get this child whatever he needed, with a lot of information as to where he was and what his potential in his development would be, right? And and I think a lot of people, this is what they think. Instead of them doing whatever they had to do to make it work, like they might have if they had a special needs child born into their family, they kind of gave up. I think that's how a lot of people are seeing it. And the truth is that if they are able to make that decision to rehome a child, as they put it, to dissolve the adoption and find this child a better home, then that child is probably better off in that home. You know what I mean? Like, they were able to make that decision. They were able to give that child up. And my hope with that situation is that they took themselves out of the equation, they put their own feelings aside, and they looked at it objectively and they went, I'm not giving this child what he needs in terms of, because let's be honest, these aren't professionals. She's a nurse or something, or was a nurse. That doesn't make you a professional in childcare or in special needs. And I'm hoping that they went, I am unable to provide this child with what a parent should be providing. So not every child born has a parent who's a professional. But what are parents supposed to provide their children? They're supposed to provide them with connection, warmth, attachment, appropriate attachment. And what I would hope is that their thinking was, I'm currently failing this child in those departments. I am currently looking at this child, and I think this is what it is that they looked at him and they went, because she's mentioned this where in past videos, from what I understand, she's mentioned it, that in the past she had this idea of who he was going to be, and that went out the window when they got him. He wasn't as she put it, the shy, sweet, cuddly little kid. He was an outgoing, boisterous little boy, right? And so all of those things went out the window when they got him. And guess what? That's what a lot of special needs children's parents go through. They go through a loss. They feel a loss that their child is not going to ever live up to these societal expectations of them, right? Some of these children will never have a job. They'll never be able to live independently. They'll never, I think there was somebody mentioned a video where she talked about how she was crying because they told her that there was like a 1% chance that her child would ever go to college. Those are all kind of like, it feels to a lot of parents like a loss. Like instead of having the child that they dreamed of, they've lost the hope for that child. Unfortunately, that's how it is. And that's something that a lot of people have to work through. So on top of that, on top of the loss that they felt based on who their own expectations, let's be honest. They put a lot of expectations on this kid to perform. And that's a whole nother bag of worms. That is a whole nother situation that I don't think any child should ever have to go through, where he was pretty much, just like the rest of their children, being exploited, being expected to perform in a way that is not what children should be expected to do. He was expected to be part of this nice, let's be real, white family and and as she said, be cute, be cuddly, be quiet. And he wasn't those things. And that's the real thing about the situation, is that I do kind of wax and wane between feeling very, very angry at this couple for putting this child through this, because he didn't have to go through this, right? He didn't have to be brought to America. I mean, he hopefully is better off here, but whatever, that's a different story. But he didn't have to be placed into their home. He could have found a different home, right? Hopefully this is just a step on his journey, and he will end up in a place that he might not have ended up in the best of situations if he hadn't gone through this, right? But yeah, he was expected to perform in a way that he wasn't able to, and that I think a lot of children would have issues with, right? But yeah, I wax and wane between being just like extremely angry with this couple and feeling like really devastated for them. I feel really bad for them. I feel really bad for those parents, because let's be real, if anybody spends 2 years every day with you and then you lose them forever, that's fucking rough. That sucks. That is hard times for everybody, including their children, especially their children. Like, I can't imagine what their kids are going through, because their brother, who they spent 2 years with, who they've been calling brother, who they've been encouraged by their family and probably by multiple people in their lives, trusted people in their lives, to bond with this other kid. They've been encouraged to bond with him like a brother, like they would any of their other siblings. And now he's gone. Shady, you better not be eating anything. Shady, are you eating something? Oh, no, no, no. Shady, come on. Did you eat something? You better not have. And yeah, and now they're suffering the consequences of it because they've lost him. I don't know the relationship between all the kids. I don't know how attached they were. I would assume that they are. You live with anybody for 2 years, 3 years, and you will be attached. That's just the way that it is. I've had this dog for a little under 2 years. His name is Shade. He's a rescue. And I would be so devastated if something happened to him where I had to rehome him. Oh my God, did you see that? He was going after birds. You're bad. Come on. I would be so devastated if something happened where I had to rehome him. And he's a dog. A dog. He's not a person. He's a dog. I mean, he's a person and not a human person, but he's not a human child, you know? And that's just kind of where my mind goes with it. I've worked a lot with kids with special needs, and they are who they are, you know? And when you love them because of who they are. And guess what? They wouldn't be who they are without their disability. You don't love them in spite of their disability. You love them as a whole person because that's part of who they are. It's part of their personality. It's part of what makes them who they are. And you love them. And to see that they couldn't, I don't know if they got to that point. You hear about this kid having hours and hours and hours of therapy each week. And you think like, hey, did they ever get to that point where they loved this kid and accepted him exactly the way he was? I don't know. And I don't really think so. We're about to jaywalk. Thank you, guy. Uh-oh, we're gonna go. We're gonna get run over by a car. Shit. All right, whatever. It's a tragic situation. And the last thing I really wanted to talk about is how common having adoption, quote unquote, fail is. It's not as uncommon as you would think, unfortunately. And the truth is, he sees another dog. The truth is that, especially in a international adoption and a transracial adoption, you're gonna have a harder time. It sucks. It's the way it is, though. You're gonna have a harder time, and you're gonna have a lot of difficulty engaging that child in a way where they feel connected to their family, where they form appropriate attachment. I mean, just think about being a little baby, being a 2-year-old baby, being taken from the culture and the language and the people that you know, whether or not you have disabilities, whether or not you're verbal or not verbal. And you're placed into a place where nobody looks the way that you are familiar with. Nobody speaks the way that you are familiar with. The food is different. The air is different. The homes are different. The clothing is different. You would feel like an alien. I would feel like an alien if that was me. I would feel like, that's just so difficult to begin with. So a lot of times those adoptions do fail. And yes, for a lot of people, they say like, oh, it's easier to adopt from overseas. It's easier to adopt internationally. These children come into your house more quickly. You might get a younger child than you would have in America, or in the United States, I should say. But guess what? You're going to have a whole different bag of worms to deal with. You're going to have a whole nother issue outside of the legal system when you do that. And I'm not knocking people who do that. Honestly, one of my favorite YouTube channels right now is Six Blind Kids. Go look them up. They're fucking amazing. They're a beautiful family. They have children with autism. They have blind children. They have children with delays. They have nonverbal children. And they're beautiful and amazing. But even they have experienced a quote unquote failed adoption where the child wasn't a good match for them. And they had to come to that realization that we're going to have to let this kid go to a family that it's better suited for. That the child is better suited for. And it's just, it's hard to blame people when that happens, because ultimately you hope and you pray that it comes from a place of wanting that child to be in the best possible situation. And it comes from a place of realizing your own failures and not the failure of a child. And that's where I think people are scared and angry, is that they don't know if the Stauffers really believe that it's their failure. Mika says, or the mom, I hope that's how you say her name, said that she feels like a failure, and I believe her. I believe her that she must, because this is not something that anybody wants to go through. And yeah, and we just have to hope and pray and do whatever, you do, positive thinking or whatever the fuck you do. Not to knock that, but, just do whatever you feel is right and hope that this kid is in the home that he was kind of meant to be in, Yeah. How long have I been talking for? It's been like 17 minutes. Okay. All right. Okay. That's pretty much everything I had to say. I don't know. I hope you guys think Shade is cute, because I think he's cute. Shady, sit. Hey, Shady. Shade. He doesn't even want to look at me. Shady, sit. Shady, come on. Let's just one sit and Shay, sit down, please. Good boy. Yes. Say hi, Shady. All right. Say bye.